Well, marhaba. Hello, everybody. Welcome to my friend Shahd and to my friend Samir. My name is Kim with Gazelle English. Today, we are going to have a little discussion, maybe you could call it an interview, about Abraham's sacrifice, and we will be talking about the feast of Eid Al Adha. And so happy Eid or Eid Mubarak, Shahd.
Thank you.
I believe
كل
that.
عام وانت بخير شهد وكل المشاهدين.
Thank you so much and happy Eid for you all. وكل عام وأنتم بخير جميعا.
So I was thinking the other day that it would be interesting to learn more about this feast, this celebration from a Muslim. And then because we have the story in the Bible, I thought it would be interesting also to hear from the perspective of a Christian. So why don't we start with you, Shahd? And Shahd, if you, before we get started, maybe you want to just briefly introduce yourself so everybody knows a little more about you. I know you're amazing, but I'd love to give you a chance to share.
Thank you so much. And first of all, I'd like to thank you for inviting me to this conversation and to also for introducing me to Samir. And I'm really glad that we're doing this today. My name is Shahd. I'm 25 years old. I'm a doctor of medicine, graduated from Syria, and I came to Italy about 8 months ago as an awardee of the Italian government scholarship to study Masters in Medical Biotechnologies. I'm also a poet and a writer, and I published my first book when I was 16. And I'm really interested in the intercultural exchange and the bilingual interaction. I write in Arabic, but I have attempts writing in English, and I try to deliver my ideas also to non-Arabic speakers. So
that's great. That's awesome. Yes, I do think you are amazing, Mumtaz. So thank you
so much.
Thank you for being willing to join us today. So Shahd, tell us what Eid is about, Eid Al Adha, and then maybe some of the customs and traditions that happen around this time.
Okay, well, first of all, Eid Al Adha is named after the sacrifice, and hence the name Adha min al-Tadhiya, which is the sacrifice. And we'll talk about this matter later, but because, you know, many people, of course, people know the story behind this. But for now, I'm gonna talk a little bit about the traditions and the customs. You know, it differs a little bit between countries, and since I'm Syrian, I'm from Syria, so I'll tell you how things went in Syria. And this is in fact somehow related to the childhood period, because, you know, you have all of that memories when we were children, and whenever you grow up, you become gradually less involved in the activities that Eid is about, like going to playgrounds or such things. But of course, there's still a part that is directly related to adults. And I'm going to also talk about this. So the very first thing that I'll talk about is the day before Eid. The day before Eid is very crucial. It's called Yawm Arafah, as you know, and Arafah is the name of the mountain, Arafah's mountain, where pilgrims they stand on that area. And Yawm Arafah is named after the mountain, and it's an area where pilgrims stand on that day, just doing sort of rituals, specific rituals on that day. And it's also called the standing day, because the pilgrims stand. So it's in Arabic called Yawm al-Waqfa as well. And on that day we have special ceremonies, and it's recommended. It's not like in Ramadan when fasting is mandatory, but on Arafah's day we usually fast. And we fast, and it's just for those who want. It's something desirable but not mandatory. And we spend the morning preparing for that big feast. And we prepare the main course and special appetizers and things like that, because it's a big day. And after having the iftar, which is regular iftar, like iftars that we're used to have in Ramadan, people usually go shopping. And you may just want to ask me, they already know that Eid is approaching and they have a month before. Why don't they do that before? Well, the thing about that shopping on that day, on the night of Eid especially, is that it's a tradition. So no matter what, if you have your stuff, or if you don't need anything, or if you've already bought all of your things, you still want to go shopping and hit the souks and just walk in the streets, enjoy the vibes, see all the people just carrying things and children shouting with fun and all of this stuff. So this is really one of my favorite traditions. And when it comes to me and my family, the main thing that we used to do while shopping is buying desserts and candies to offer them to the guests that they'll visit us on Eid days. So sometimes shopping, well, before war hit Syria, we used to do that shopping until it's really late, until the 5 a.m. or something like that. So it can be extended time doing that.
Wow, I love I just had a picture in my mind of just the bustling and the activity in the streets, and it sounds very festive.
Yeah, it is.
Are there any customs or traditions special in your family? I know you did share a little bit, and especially about.
Well, in fact, it's not specific for my own family, but it's very common in Syria. I don't know about other Arabic countries, but I can relate that they also do this, which is it's something called idea. And idea is it's an amount of money, and it's sort of a gift that your parents give to you on the very first morning of Eid, the first day of Eid. So in my family, we wake up and then we greet our parents and we wish them a happy Eid. And while greeting them, they give us this amount of money as a gift. And it also depends on your age. So when you get older, it might increase, and it's not relevant to your age. So even if you're, for example, 40 or 30, or you work or you make your own money, it's still the same. You gotta want that idea and that small amount of money just to make you feel like you're still a little child, you're still beloved, your parents still want to give you that small gift. And it's really one of the traditions that I really like.
We have that in Egypt too.
You have it. Yeah. I can relate because it's really popular.
In all Eids for Muslims and Christians, they do the same. The idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only money I ever remember getting was when the tooth fairy came. So I'd be really excited as a kid to get money. That would be the best.
You never get old if you're still receiving that amount of idea. As long as you're receiving it, you're still a little child.
Oh, then send me some money, people. Although I'm not, I guess I wouldn't count. All right. Well, we have, Shahd, just a few minutes. And I wanted to ask you if you would share briefly on the religious significance And then if there was anything else you wanted to share.
Yeah. Well, first of all, let me just say one thing. I'm really glad that you're reaching out to me to answer this question, given that I'm anything but an expert. So my answer will rely on my perspective as well as the facts that I've known since I was a little kid. And also I reviewed some of them just because, when you're talking about something that is a belief for millions of people, you got to be precise. So that's what I wanted to do. The religious importance of Eid Al Adha is related to the story of Abraham's sacrifice, just like the story is in the Bible. So what we do, let me just tell you something. It's there in Quran. The ayah that describes that story, and the importance of this Eid comes from the importance of the sacrifice that Abraham did. The prophet, we call them in Arabic Ibrahim. God asked him to sacrifice his beloved son without giving him any explanation. Just it was like an exam of his faith and to what extent he trusts God and his comments. And he referred to his son Ismail. It says that God was telling me that I have to sacrifice you. And his son, being as believer as his dad, he accepted it with his faith, and he said, "I'm ready for no matter what. I'm ready for it." And then Abraham took his knife, and he was about to slaughter his beloved son, when God sent a miracle, and that miracle was a ram. And that ram was the sacrifice that God sent instead of Ismail. So the prophet just didn't lose his son, didn't lose his child, and God just sent a ram instead. So that's the whole story. And the importance, as I told you, the importance comes from the willing to obey God's commands no matter what, trusting God's willing without thinking too much, because he's always there for you and he'll save you eventually. And that's what happened in the story.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shahd.
Thank you.
Shahd, before we move on, is there anything else that you would like to share or say about this great feast?
Well, the only thing I forgot to tell you is directly related to the story that I was telling you, and is that we usually do the ceremonies of the sacrifice after Eid prayers. So the person who want to sacrifice, for example, my father used to do that on the first day after Eid prayer, and with the help of a butcher, they slaughter the ram or the sheep or whatever, and then they come home. Dad would come home and divide it into portions, and then distribute these portions to the poor or whoever in need, and also to relatives, regardless of their income, even if they're well off. And people enjoy just cooking and preparing lunch with the meat that they got from adhiyas.
Okay. Well, thank you again, Shahd, for educating us and teaching us about this important holiday.
Thank you so much. I'm really glad that I did it.
And so, Samir, Christians, as I know you're a follower of Yeshua al-Masih, as am I, and Christians don't really have an observance of this story from the Bible like Muslims do. And can you touch on that a little bit?
Sure. Thank you very much, Kim, for this opportunity. And thank you, Shahd, I'm so glad that we are sharing this video together with Kim. And please, Shahd, interject if there is any thought that comes to you while I'm talking. So. Yes, Kim, you're very right. We Christians don't celebrate this particular event with our father Abraham sacrificing his son, but it is a very important event and very pivotal, very important event in the Bible. This event is there in the Bible, in the Torah, in the book of Genesis, chapter 22, and it gives a lot of details about this incident in that particular chapter. And that was written in the Torah 1,500 years before the Injil. That's 1,500 years before the Injil, and 2,100 years before the Quran. That's 2,100 years before the Quran. So it's written a long time ago with a lot of details, very, very significant details. So yes, we don't celebrate it, but we recognize it as an important event. Why is it a major event? Because it is one of the very early signs in the Bible that God has given us about redemption and about ransom. So it tells us what it means, what redemption means, what does it mean to redeem or ransom, that God wants to ransom and redeem people, and it tells us also how God will redeem. So why we don't celebrate it? That's the other question. Why? I mean, if it is that important, why we don't celebrate it? Because it is one of the signs that points toward the ultimate redemption. It is one of the very early signs, and there were many signs as alamat. There were many other signs in the Old Testament that was pointing to the ultimate redemption. In those signs, God was telling people those things. What does it mean to redeem? Why he needs to redeem, and how he is going to redeem. So it was like, as I said, alamat or signs, to prepare people for the ultimate sacrifice, who is Jesus Christ, and this is what we celebrate as Christian, Eid Al We celebrate the death and the resurrection of Jesus Christ as the ultimate sacrifice. We call it, in English, it's called the Resurrection Sunday, or it's also called Easter, in Arabic, Eid Al And this is the main pillar of what Christianity is all about. This is why we celebrate it.
So Samir, this story, what is the significance of the story of Abraham being asked by God to sacrifice his son? I remember the first time I read it in Genesis, and it was very startling to me. And I don't know if you felt that, Shahd. Like, what kind of a God would ask this of someone? And I think for me, the startling nature of it took on new meaning and significance as I came to understand on a deeper level what was going on. So Samir, will you share with us a little more about the significance?
Sure.
Perspective.
Yes, sure. Thank you for asking. Like Shahd said, and the Bible clearly also mentioned that that was a test for our father Abraham. It was a test, and because he was a man of great faith, he put his trust, his full trust in God, and he trusted God that even if he will sacrifice his son, God will raise him from the dead. So that was his trust. This is the ultimate trust. But the story, and we know that our father Abraham passed the test. And he, as Shahd said, as he brought the knife and he was about to kill his son, and we are not going to talk now about which son is that, but that can be for another conversation. But let's say to sacrifice his son, God called him and told him, don't stop and don't do that. And he provided a ram to sacrifice instead of his son.
Yeah.
So it is not just a test. So the test is the first part of the story, because if it was only a test and then he passed the test, God could have told him, okay, well done, Abraham, take your son, go home, and well done, you passed the test. But the story didn't end there. There was the second part of the story, which is the ransom, the sacrifice. Here there is since this is these days it's Eid Al Adha celebration, I will bring a verse from the Quran that talks about the ransom. It's in Surah 37, Surah As-Safat,
yes,
Ayah 107, that says, وَفَدَيْنَاهُ بِذِبْحٍ عَظِيمٍ. In English, we ransomed him with a great sacrifice. We, that Allah talking,
yes,
ransomed him, Abraham's son, with a great sacrifice. So here is the word ransom here. فَدَيْنَاهُ, ransom. And this is, and this is a very pivotal word. And I will show a couple of verses from the Injil that talks about the same word. But what is ransom, to start with? And in these days, we use the word ransom if somebody is taken hostage, and those who kidnap the person ask the family for a ransom. So a ransom could be another person to replace the person that was kidnapped, or money. It's called ransom money. Okay, so ransom is someone going in to die or to replace someone else. And that's what's called ransom. In this situation, in the story of our father Abraham, God provided the ransom. God didn't tell our father Abraham, go and get one of the sheep or rams from your flock. God is the one who provided the ram, and told him to sacrifice the ram instead of his son. And the word instead of, that's the meaning of ransom. Think with me, what would have happened if our father Abraham or his son refused the ransom that God has provided? Think about that for a minute. Then Abraham would have killed his son. And this is very important to understand about the word ransom. If you don't provide the ransom, the other person carry the consequences. So in this case, Abraham's son would have died. So this is very important points about the ransom. So let's move quickly in the Injil. As I mentioned earlier, in all the Old Testament, God provided a lot of signs to explain what does ransom mean, and how is ransom and redemption is done. And until the coming of the ultimate sacrifice, the ultimate ransom, Jesus Christ. So in the Injil, Jesus Christ himself said that he will give his life as a ransom for many. Jesus himself said that he will give himself as a ransom for many. Here is this word again, ransom. He will sacrifice himself instead of many. And another ayah or verse from the Injil says, Christ Jesus gave himself as a ransom for all people. So, and this is what we Christians celebrate, the ransom and redemption of Jesus Christ, his death and resurrection for our redemption, for our ransom, for us not to die the spiritual death, the eternal death. Everybody will die the physical death, but to be redeemed and ransomed from the eternal death. And of course, that would be a much longer discussion to say why that was needed and how it achieves that, and that would be a longer discussion.
Yeah.
Thank you, Samir. Very well said.
You're welcome.
Are there any thoughts, Shahd, as Samir was sharing? Anything?
Well, I have no questions, but I was really impressed by the word ransom and the way he explained it. And I forgot to point out this very important thing while I was talking. So thank you, Samir, for that.
Absolutely. You're welcome.
Well, shukran jazilan. Would it be صديقتى? صديقو?
Well, it's صديقتي and صديقي if you're referring to me and Samir, respectively.
Yes. So to both of you, thank you so much. Shukran jazilan. Thank you for everything you shared. And I'm sure that our viewers will appreciate the education and and appreciate this discussion. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Kim. It was a great opportunity. And thank you, Shahd.
Thank you so much, Kim and Samir. And thank you for letting me celebrate Eid Al Adha this way, because I'm all by my own here and my family is back in Syria. So I'm really glad that you gave me this opportunity to celebrate in a very special way.
Aw, that's awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Well, and all right. Ma'asalama.
Ma'asalama. Bye-bye.
Bye.